First contact and misunderstanding. The massive dish of the Arecibo Parker Deep Space Array slowly tilted upward, its enormous metal face catching the last golden rays of the setting sun. Inside the control room, Dr. Eliza Chen stared at her monitor with widening eyes. For 6 years, she had analyzed signal patterns from deep space, searching for the one anomaly that would change human history. Today, that anomaly had arrived. "Director Hammond," she called, her voice barely steady. "You need to see this." Within 24 hours, every major government on Earth had received the data. Within 48, a global emergency summit convened. By the end of the week, humanity had confirmed what generations had speculated. We were not alone in the universe. The signal wasn't random noise. It contained mathematical sequences, atomic structures, and eventually, clear communication protocols. The aliens, who called themselves the Vordaxian Coalition, were coming to meet us. Admiral Helena Reyes stood before the United Earth Council, her gray-streaked black hair pulled back in a severe bun, her weathered face projecting the calm that had made her legendary during the Mars colony crisis 15 years ago. "The Vordaxians have proposed a rendezvous point near Saturn's orbit," she explained to the assembled leaders. "Their message indicates peaceful intentions. They describe themselves as an alliance of 17 spacefaring species with technologies far beyond our own." "And you believe them?" asked the Chinese representative, leaning forward in his chair. Helena's expression remained neutral. "I believe in preparation, Counselor, which is why I'm requesting command of the UES Prometheus for first contact." There were murmurs around the table. The Prometheus was a diplomatic vessel, Earth's newest and most impressive ship, but hardly representative of humanity's full capabilities. "The Vordaxians don't need to know everything about us yet," Helena continued. "Let them see what we choose to show them first." 3 weeks later, the UES Prometheus approached the rendezvous coordinates. Helena stood on the bridge, watching as something massive emerged from the darkness beyond Saturn's rings. The alien ship dwarfed the Prometheus, a gleaming construct of what appeared to be crystalline metal, surrounded by a fleet of smaller vessels arranged in perfect geometric patterns. "Magnificent," whispered Dr. Marcus Reed, the xenobiologist standing beside her. The Vordaxian ships moved with impossible grace, their propulsion systems leaving no visible exhaust or energy signatures. As the fleet approached, the central vessel extended what appeared to be a docking tube. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Patel. "Audio and visual." "On screen," Helena ordered, straightening her uniform. The view screen filled with an alien face, humanoid but clearly not human. The being had iridescent blue skin, large multifaceted eyes, and a narrow lipless mouth. When it spoke, its words were perfectly translated through the communication system it had provided in its earlier transmissions. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am High Commander Zorvex of the Vordaxian Coalition. We welcome you to the greater galactic community." Helena stepped forward. "Commander Zorvex, I am Admiral Helena Reyes of the United Earth Navy. On behalf of humanity, we are honored by your presence." The alien's expression shifted in a way Helena couldn't interpret. "Your vessel is quaint, Admiral. We expected something more impressive for a species' first interstellar diplomatic mission." Helena maintained her diplomatic smile despite the condescension. "The Prometheus represents our commitment to peaceful exchange, Commander. We prioritized comfort for our guests over other considerations." "How thoughtful," Zorvex replied. "Please prepare to receive our diplomatic delegation. We have much to discuss about your species' future." The meeting took place in the Prometheus's conference room. The Vordaxian delegates, 3 different species from their coalition, sat across from Helena and her team. The aliens wore what appeared to be ceremonial attire, embedded with technology that made Earth's most advanced systems look primitive by comparison. "We have observed your planet for some time," explained Zorvex, manipulating a holographic display that materialized between them. "Your development has been interesting, if somewhat chaotic. "How long have you been watching us?" asked Dr. Reed. "Since your first radio transmissions," replied a different alien, a reptilian being called Shendra. "We monitor all developing worlds within our sector." Helena noted how they spoke of Earth, not as equals, but as something to be studied and managed. The holographic display showed Earth's history, focusing on wars, environmental challenges, and political conflicts. "Your species shows promise," continued Zorvex, "but also concerning tendencies. Your propensity for violence and resource exploitation is troubling." "Every species faces challenges during development," Helena countered. "We've made significant progress toward unity and sustainability." "Indeed," said the third alien, Krellmore, whose crystalline body refracted light across the room. "But you would benefit greatly from guidance. The Coalition offers emerging species like yours protection and mentorship." Now they reached the heart of it. Helena listened as the Vordaxians outlined their proposal. Earth would become a protected associate of the Coalition. They would receive limited technology transfers, cultural exchange, and defense against less benevolent spacefaring powers. In exchange, Earth would limit its independent development according to Coalition guidelines and accept Vordaxian advisors in all major governments. "This arrangement has benefited dozens of young species," Zorvex concluded. "Many now sit as full members in our council." "After how long?" Helena asked pointedly. "The probationary period typically lasts several of your centuries," Shendra answered, "depending on how quickly your people adapt to civilized interstellar protocols." Helena exchanged glances with her team. The Vordaxians weren't offering partnership. They were offering a form of benevolent subjugation. "This is a significant proposal that requires careful consideration," Helena responded diplomatically. "Our leadership will need time to evaluate it properly." "Of course," Zorvex said with what appeared to be an indulgent smile. "Take all the time you need. However, I should note that declining Coalition protection can leave developing worlds vulnerable to less accommodating powers." The implied threat wasn't subtle. Helena maintained her composure. "Before we can properly evaluate your generous offer, it might help our leaders to better understand the Coalition's capabilities and expectations. Perhaps you would consider a demonstration visit to our solar system. Our Mars colonies would be honored to host your delegation." The aliens conferred briefly among themselves before Zorvex responded. "We find this acceptable. It would be beneficial for us to conduct a more thorough evaluation of your development stage." After the meeting, Helena retreated to her private quarters and activated a secure quantum communication link to Earth. General Katsuo Jung's weathered face appeared on her screen. "They took the bait," she reported without preamble. "They've agreed to send a delegation to evaluate our development stage." Chong nodded. "And their proposal?" "Exactly as we anticipated. They see us as children to be guided or controlled. Their technology is impressive, but their attitude is pure paternalism." "Can we match them militarily?" Jung asked, getting straight to the point. Helena's expression hardened. "Based on what I've observed, their defensive capabilities seem advanced, but they've been at peace so long they've forgotten what real conflict looks like. They scan our history and see only chaos where we know we've been forged in fire." "Then it's time for Phase 2, Jung replied. "Operation Revelation is authorized. The Sol Defense Fleet will be ready when you bring them to the Jupiter perimeter." "Understood," Helena said. "They expect to find a primitive species grateful for their protection. Time to show them why humanity never needed guardians in the first place." As the communication ended, Helena looked out the viewport at the massive Vordaxian ships surrounding the Prometheus. Soon, these condescending aliens would learn that humanity's relatively modest diplomatic vessel was just the tip of a much larger, much more formidable iceberg. "Communications," she called, walking back onto the bridge. "Inform the Vordaxians we're ready to escort them to the Sol inner system, and send encrypted notification to all solar defense platforms. Operation Revelation is a go." The timing would be crucial. For decades, humanity had prepared for first contact by building not just ships but entire military installations hidden throughout the solar system. While civilian space exploration progressed openly, Earth's combined military forces had developed technologies and strategies specifically designed for defense against superior alien forces. Now it was time to reveal the truth. Humanity wasn't helpless, wasn't primitive, and certainly wasn't going to become anyone's protected species without a fight. As the Prometheus began its journey back toward Earth with the Vordaxian fleet following, Helena felt a grim satisfaction. The aliens thought they were coming to evaluate a potential client species. Instead, they were about to get the shock of their civilized, peaceful lives. The revelation and new alliance. The massive Vordaxian vessels glided silently through space as they approached Jupiter's orbit, their crystalline hulls refracting the distant sunlight. Admiral Helena Reyes stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, watching the tactical display with carefully concealed anticipation. Beside her, High Commander Zorvex observed the gas giant with what passed for mild interest on his alien features. "An impressive celestial body," he remarked. "Your scientists have established research outposts on several of its moons, correct?" "Yes," Helena replied. "We've had a presence on Europa and Ganymede for nearly 30 years. Zorvex made a gesture that Helena had come to recognize as condescending acknowledgement. "Commendable progress for your technological level. With Coalition guidance, you could establish proper habitation domes within a decade." Before Helena could respond, the communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Jupiter Command. They're requesting permission to proceed with the scheduled demonstration." Helena nodded. "Permission granted. Inform the Vordaxian delegation that we've arranged a small display of our defense capabilities." Zorvex tilted his head. "Defense capabilities? Your files indicated minimal military presence beyond Earth's orbit." "Our public files, yes," Helena said with the faintest smile. "High Commander, if you and your delegation would join me in the observation deck, I believe you'll find the next few minutes educational." The observation deck offered a panoramic view of Jupiter's swirling surface. The Vordaxian delegates, Zorvex, Shendra, and Krellmore, stood at the viewport, their postures suggesting polite but minimal interest. Helena checked her neural implants chronometer. 3, 2, 1. "What is happening?" Shendra asked suddenly, pressing closer to the viewport. Across Jupiter's moons, Callisto, Ganymede, Europa, and Io, sections of what had appeared to be ordinary research stations began to transform. Massive panels slid aside, revealing launch bays. From Io alone, 20 sleek warships emerged, their matte black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. From Europa, a vessel twice the size of the Prometheus rose from beneath the icy surface. Similar scenes unfolded across all 4 major moons. "Impossible," whispered Krellmore, their crystalline body flickering with apparent agitation. "Our scans detected no military presence of this magnitude." "Quantum stealth fields," Helena explained calmly, "developed after the Mars colony crisis. They bend scanning wavelengths around our installations and vessels." The space around Jupiter now filled with ships, over 100 vessels of various classes, from nimble interceptors to massive dreadnoughts. At the center of the formation, emerging from behind Jupiter itself, the UES Ragnarok appeared, a titan among titans, its hull bristling with weapon systems unlike anything the Vordaxians had shown. "This is Admiral Zhang of the Seoul Defense Fleet," a new voice announced over the communication system. "Formation complete. Awaiting your orders, Admiral Reyes." Helena turned to face the stunned Vordaxian delegation. "High Commander, allow me to properly introduce humanity's actual defense capabilities. What you see represents approximately 30% of our total fleet strength." Zorvex's multifaceted eyes had widened considerably. "This is unexpected. Your species showed no indications of such military development. The resources required were considerable," Helena finished for him, "but necessary." Humanity has never had the luxury of assuming peaceful intentions from unknown entities. Our history taught us to hope for the best while preparing for the worst. The reptilian Shendra recovered first, her scaled skin flushing a deeper green. These vessels appear designed specifically for combat. Yet you claim to be a peaceful species. Dr. Marcus Reed stepped forward. The apparent paradox isn't lost on us, Ambassador Shendra. But human history contains numerous examples of peaceful societies that fell because they couldn't defend themselves. We chose a different path. Helena gestured toward the viewport where the human fleet had arranged itself in a precise formation. What you're witnessing is not aggression but preparedness. Every ship you see was built with one purpose: to ensure humanity's survival and independence. Your development priorities are unconventional. Krellmore observed, their crystalline forms still flickering with agitation. Most species focus on civilian infrastructure before military expansion. Most species, perhaps, Helena agreed. But we faced unique challenges. Before we united globally, competing nations drove military innovation at extraordinary rates. When we finally achieved unity, we channeled that innovative capacity toward defense rather than aggression. Zorvex had been silent, studying the fleet with new intensity. These vessels, their design suggests specific combat doctrines. You've prepared for war against technologically superior opponents. Helena met his gaze steadily. We'd prepared for first contact with unknown entities who might not share our values or respect our autonomy. It appears our caution was warranted, given the Coalition's expectations that we would simply submit to centuries of guidance. The observation deck fell silent as the implications settled over the alien delegation. The power dynamic had shifted dramatically. These weren't primitives grateful for protection. This was a species that had developed in secret, anticipating this very moment. Suddenly, alarm signals blared across both human and Vordaxian systems. A tactical officer rushed onto the observation deck. "Admiral, multiple unidentified vessels have just appeared at the edge of the system. They're not responding to hails and are on an intercept course. Energy signatures don't match any known Vordaxian configurations." Zorvex moved quickly to his communication device. "Those are Keldari warships," he said, his voice tense. "A rival faction that rejected Coalition principles centuries ago. They must have followed our diplomatic mission." Helena was already activating her neural link to the fleet. "All vessels, battle stations. Defensive Formation Delta. Protect the Vordaxian diplomatic ships." She turned to Zorvex. "High Commander, I suggest you return to your vessel. We'll escort you." "Our ship is primarily ceremonial," Zorvex interrupted, genuine alarm in his voice. "The Keldari are hunters. They specifically target Coalition diplomatic missions to destabilize our influence." Helena's expression hardened. "Then you'll remain under our protection. Communications, inform Admiral Zhang that the Prometheus will fall back to the center of the defensive perimeter with the Vordaxian vessels." On the tactical display, 12 Keldari ships approached rapidly, angular, predatory vessels with forward-mounted weapons already charging. The sole defense fleet moved with practiced precision, enveloping the Vordaxian diplomatic ships in a protective formation. "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. On screen, Helena ordered. The view screen displayed a humanoid figure with dark, chitinous skin and multiple eyes arranged in clusters. "This is Hunter Commander Vrak of the Keldari Dominion. Surrender the Vordaxian diplomats and withdraw. This matter doesn't concern your primitive species." Helena stepped forward. "This is Admiral Helena Reyes of Earth. You have entered sovereign human space without authorization and with hostile intent. Power down your weapons and change course immediately." The Keldari commander made a clicking sound that the translation software interpreted as laughter. "Your species is unknown to us, human, but interfering with Keldari hunts is unwise. We will take the Vordaxians, by force if necessary." The transmission cut off abruptly. Helena turned to Zorvex. "Their capabilities." The Vordaxian looked grim. Comparable to mid-tier coalition vessels, they specialize in overwhelming force and boarding actions. Helena nodded. Then they're about to learn some hard lessons about human combat doctrine. The Keldari ships launched their attack without further warning, firing brilliant beams of energy toward the defensive formation. But the human fleet was already moving, executing maneuvers that seemed to anticipate the attack patterns. The UES Ragnarok's massive shield absorbed the brunt of the initial barrage, while smaller vessels darted forward with impossible agility. "Are your ships autonomous?" Krellmore asked, watching the battle unfold. "Semi-autonomous," Dr. Reed explained. "Our neural interface systems allow human pilots to control vessels with thought-speed reactions, while AI subsystems handle tactical calculations." The battle evolved rapidly. 3 human destroyers took hit after hit from Keldari weapons, their shields flaring but holding. Then, in perfect synchronization, they returned fire, not with energy weapons like the Keldari, but with swarms of kinetic penetrators that bypassed the alien shields completely. "Primitive but effective," muttered Shendra, watching as the projectiles tore through the hull of a Keldari vessel. Zorvex was studying the tactical display with newfound respect. Their formations are unlike anything in coalition doctrine. They're fighting as cohesive units rather than individual ships. The battle reached its climax when the UES Ragnarok finally engaged directly. Instead of the overwhelming energy barrage the Vordaxians expected, the massive human flagship launched what appeared to be small, unmanned drones that swarmed around the largest Keldari vessel. "EMP detonation in 3, 2, 1, announced the tactical officer. The drones exploded simultaneously, creating a cascading electromagnetic pulse that washed over the Keldari flagship. Its lights flickered and died, weapon systems going dark. Within minutes, the battle was over. 3 Keldari ships destroyed, 5 disabled, and the rest retreating at maximum speed. The human fleet had suffered damage but no losses. Zorvex turned to Helena, his previous condescension entirely gone. "You could have destroyed them all." "That wasn't our objective," Helena replied simply. "We aimed to neutralize the threat with minimal loss of life. Standard human military protocol." The Vordaxian delegation exchanged meaningful glances. Finally, Zorvex straightened to his full height. "Admiral Reyes, on behalf of the Vordaxian coalition, I must apologize for our presumptions about your species. It appears we have much to learn from each other." Helena allowed herself a small smile. "That was our hope from the beginning, High Commander." 3 days later, Helena stood in the Grand Chamber of the United Earth Council, delivering her report on the unprecedented events. "The Vordaxians have withdrawn their original proposal," she explained to the assembled world leaders. "Instead, they've offered a mutual defense pact and technological exchange program. As equals, not as patrons." "And you believe them?" asked the same Chinese representative who had questioned her before. "I believe they've learned something vital about humanity," Helena replied. "That we won't be patronized, controlled, or protected against our will. And that despite our capacity for war, we choose peace whenever possible." General Zhang nodded approvingly from his seat. "The Vordaxians underestimated us because they misunderstood our history. They saw our conflicts as primitive savagery rather than what they truly were, the forge that shaped our resilience and innovation." "What happens now?" asked another counselor. Helena activated a holographic display showing the preliminary agreement. "We join the wider galactic community on our terms. We maintain our independence while establishing diplomatic and trade relations with the coalition worlds. And most importantly," she smiled slightly, "we've secured humanity's place among the stars, not as anyone's protectorate, but as a force to be respected." As the council members reviewed the agreement, Helena thought about the Vordaxians' parting words. Zorvex had looked out at Earth from the observation deck of his ship, the blue planet gleaming against the darkness of space. "Your world is beautiful," he had said quietly. "But what truly makes your species remarkable isn't your planet, or even your impressive fleet. It's that despite a history filled with conflict, you've channeled that potential toward defense rather than conquest. The Coalition has much to learn from humanity about vigilance without aggression. Helena had nodded. And perhaps we have things to learn from species who found peace before we did. In the vastness of the cosmos, humanity had faced its first test against the stars and emerged not just intact but respected. Not because we had impressed the aliens with our achievements, but because we had prepared for the worst while hoping for the best, and in doing so, had earned our place among the galactic community. The stars were no longer just distant lights. They were destinations, challenges, and opportunities, and humanity was ready for them all. The Galactic Summit. 6 months after the Jupiter incident, Earth's cityscape glittered under a clear autumn sky. The newly constructed Harmony Tower, a marvel of human and Vordaxian architectural collaboration, rose above New Geneva like a crystalline spear catching the morning light. At its summit, the Grand Summit Chamber prepared to host the most significant diplomatic gathering in human history. Admiral Helena Reyes adjusted her formal dress uniform as she studied the chamber's security feeds. Representatives from 27 alien civilizations would arrive within hours, the entire Vordaxian coalition, plus several independent systems that had expressed interest in humanity after news of the Caldari confrontation spread across the galaxy. Nervous? Asked General Zhang, joining her at the viewport overlooking the city. Cautious, Helena corrected. The Vordaxians have honored their agreements so far, but this summit puts a lot of different interests in one room. Zhang nodded, especially with the technology exchange protocols on the agenda. Intelligence reports at least 3 delegations are more interested in our military innovations than they're willing to admit, which is precisely why we're being selective about what we share. Helena replied. She gestured to a holographic display showing the summit's security perimeter. Sol Defense has deployed 5 stealth platforms in high orbit, and the Prometheus is standing by with a rapid response team. The Vordaxians have been informed, of course. Of course, Zhang said with a slight smile. Trust but verify. Our new interstellar policy. The first delegation to arrive was, fittingly, the Vordaxians. High Commander Zorvex led a procession of coalition representatives through the grand entrance, where Dr. Marcus Reed waited as the official greeter. Months of cultural exchange had refined human understanding of alien protocols, and Marcus executed the proper greeting gestures flawlessly. High Commander, Earth welcomes the Vordaxian coalition, he said, his translator implant converting his words into the melodic tones of High Vordaxian. We are honored by your presence at this historic summit. Zorvex returned the greeting with what humans now recognized as genuine respect rather than the condescension of their first meeting. The honor is mutual, Dr. Reed. The Coalition values this opportunity to strengthen our alliance with humanity. As the Vordaxian delegation moved into the reception area, Helena stepped forward to greet Zorvex personally. The alien commander's iridescent skin seemed to shimmer with increased intensity, a physiological sign of positive emotion that human diplomats had learned to recognize. Admiral Reyes, Zorvex said warmly, the Coalition Council sends their regards. Your security recommendations for the summit were implemented across all our territories. The Caldari have been noticeably quieter as a result. Glad to hear it, Helena replied. Though I suspect they're simply regrouping rather than reconsidering. A prudent assessment. Zorvex's expression grew more serious. There is a matter I must discuss with you privately before the formal proceedings begin. Helena led the alien commander to a secure conference room adjacent to the main chamber. Once the privacy fields activated, Zorvex produced a small device that projected a 3-dimensional star chart. 3 days ago, our long-range monitoring stations detected unusual activity in the Rigel sector, he explained. Specifically, energy signatures matching those used by the Caldari, but with modifications that suggest technological advancement beyond their previous capabilities. Helena studied the projection carefully. You believe they've acquired new technology. Or new allies, Zorvex replied grimly. The Keldari have always been opportunistic raiders, but these readings suggest a level of coordination we haven't seen before, and conveniently timed with our summit, Helena noted, where representatives from across the galaxy will be discussing technology-sharing protocols. Precisely my concern, Zorvex said, which is why I've taken the liberty of reinforcing our diplomatic escort with 3 additional battlecruisers. They should arrive within the hour, with your permission. Helena appreciated both the reinforcement and the respect shown by asking permission. Granted, and thank you for the heads-up. I'll alert Sol Defense to expect them. As the summit formally commenced, the Grand Chamber filled with an extraordinary diversity of life forms. The Cygnan delegation, evolved from avian ancestors, perched on specially designed gravity platforms. The massive Tholians, silicon-based entities that communicated through crystalline resonance, occupied an environmental chamber at the rear. Between them were dozens of species, each with their own adaptations, technologies, and interests. United Earth President Sophia Okafor addressed the gathering, her voice calm and measured as it echoed through the chamber. Distinguished representatives of the galaxy, on behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth. For centuries, we looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Today, we stand together as proof that the universe brims with diverse life and intelligence. Our differences are many, but our potential for mutual understanding and cooperation is limitless. Helena watched from her position near the security station as the president continued. Humanity enters this new era with open minds and cautious hearts. We seek friendship but require respect. We offer cooperation but maintain vigilance. This balanced approach is not born from distrust, but from the hard-earned wisdom of our history. As the opening ceremonies concluded, Helena noticed a subtle alert on her neural implant. A security officer approached discreetly. "Admiral, we've detected anomalous signals originating from within the summit perimeter," the officer reported quietly. "Quantum encryption patterns unlike anything in our database." "Location?" Helena asked, maintaining her composed expression. "Multiple sources, moving throughout the gathering. We're triangulating now. Inform General Zhang and deploy countermeasure teams. Level 2 protocols, subtle observation only until we know what we're dealing with." Helena rejoined the diplomatic proceedings, now hyper-aware of the underlying security operation unfolding around her. The summit had broken into specialized discussion groups, technology exchange, trade agreements, cultural protocols, and defense cooperation. She made her way to the defense cooperation section, where General Zhang was already engaged in conversation with representatives from 3 alien civilizations. "The human approach to asymmetric warfare is particularly intriguing," a Saltarian delegate was saying. The blue-skinned humanoid gestured with 4-fingered hands. "Your species developed tactics to overcome technological disadvantages long before you encountered external civilizations. Necessity breeds innovation," Zhang replied diplomatically. "When faced with superior force, one must find alternative advantages." Helena's neural implant pulsed again. The security team had identified at least 6 delegates carrying unauthorized quantum transmission devices. More concerning, they detected coded signals being transmitted to a location beyond the solar system. "If you'll excuse me," Helena said smoothly, "there's a matter requiring my attention." She met Dr. Reed in a monitoring station adjacent to the main chamber. The xenobiologist had been working with the security team, his expertise in alien biology proving invaluable. "What have we got?" Helena asked. Reed pointed to a display showing biological scans of several delegates. "These 6 individuals show subtle physiological markers inconsistent with their purported species. Heart rates, neural patterns, even cellular structures, small discrepancies, but enough to raise flags." "Infiltrators?" "Possibly," Reed replied. "Or modified agents. The technology required to alter biological signatures, this thoroughly is beyond anything the Vordaxians have shared with us." Helena made a quick decision. "Alert Zorvex, secure channel only. If these are coalition delegates, He needs to know they've been compromised. If they're not supposed to be here at all, we need coalition verification. Within minutes, Zorvex joined them in the monitoring station, his normally composed demeanor visibly disturbed as he reviewed the evidence. These are not coalition citizens, he confirmed. The biological signatures have similarities to Caldari physiology, but with substantial modifications. Infiltration team, Helena concluded. The question is, what's their objective? Espionage or something more direct? The answer came sooner than expected. Throughout the summit complex, small devices simultaneously activated, emitting fields that disrupted neural implants and communication systems. Emergency lighting engaged as primary systems failed. EMP variants, Zhang reported, entering the monitoring station, targeted to affect specific technologies while leaving others intact. We're locked down, communications compromised. Helena's training kicked in immediately. Execute protocol blackout, she ordered. The monitoring station's systems switched to an isolated backup, completely disconnected from all networks. Status of the sole defense platforms. Unaffected, Zhang confirmed. They're on independent systems hardened against exactly this scenario. Zorvex touched a crystalline device on his wrist. My security team reports 6 Vordaxian vessels have just emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of your system. They're not responding to identification protocols. Not Vordaxians, Helena said grimly. The infiltrators were the advanced team. This is a coordinated attack. On the main display, they watched as the 6 suspected infiltrators moved through the confused summit attendees with clear purpose, converging on the environmental systems control hub. They're not here to gather intelligence, Reed realized. This is an assassination attempt, targeting every major diplomatic representative simultaneously. Helena turned to Zorvex. Your reinforcements. Still 20 minutes out, the alien commander replied. We don't have 20 minutes. Helena activated her emergency command protocols. Sole defense, this is Admiral Reyes. Authorization Omega-7 Delta. Execute defensive pattern Valkyrie. Throughout the solar system, hidden defense platforms and vessels shed their stealth fields. The 5 orbital platforms above Earth reoriented their weapon systems, targeting the approaching hostile ships. Simultaneously, security teams within the summit complex moved into predetermined positions, activating specialized countermeasures. We need to stop those infiltrators before they reach environmental control, Helena told Zhang. If they introduce toxins into the system, we could lose every delegate. My team is moving to intercept, Zhang replied. But our personnel are hampered by the need to protect the civilians. Zorvex stepped forward. I can help. He removed a small device from his ceremonial armor. This will temporarily immobilize anyone with modified Caldari physiology. It's short range, but effective. Helena nodded. Then let's move. The 3 of them rushed through the emergency stairwells, bypassing the compromised main corridors. Above them, in orbit, the battle had already begun. The false Vordaxian ships, now revealed as Caldari vessels with modified signatures, engaged the Earth defense platforms, clearly expecting to face minimal resistance. Instead, they encountered humanity's full orbital defense grid. Kinetic weapons, laser arrays, and electromagnetic pulse generators fired in coordinated salvos. 2 enemy vessels were disabled in the first exchange, their systems overloaded by the unexpected counterattack. Inside the summit complex, Helena, Zhang, and Zorvex reached the corridor outside environmental control, just as the infiltrators were breaching the doors. The security teams had engaged them, but the disguised Caldari fought with enhanced strength and cybernetic weapons concealed within their bodies. Now, Zorvex, Helena called. The Vordaxian commander activated his device. A wave of energy pulsed outward, and the infiltrators collapsed, their modified bodies temporarily paralyzed. The security teams moved in, securing the attackers with specialized restraints. Environmental systems secure, John reported. Delegate safe. Helena's neural implant reconnected as emergency technicians restored the communications network. Status on the orbital engagement. 4 enemy vessels disabled. 2 attempting to retreat, came the response. No casualties on our side. Vordaxian reinforcements have arrived and are moving to intercept the fleeing ships. 3 hours later, with the summit complex secured and the delegates safely relocated to secondary facilities, Helena stood with Zorvex and President Okafor in the emergency command center. The captured infiltrators were being held in specially designed containment cells, their biological modifications being studied by joint human Vordaxian teams. Preliminary analysis confirms they're Keldari operatives, Zorvex reported, but the modifications to their biology and the technology they carried are beyond Keldari capabilities. Someone's backing them, Helena concluded, a previously unknown power using the Keldari as proxies. President Okafor studied the intelligence reports with a grim expression. The question is why. This attack wasn't just against Earth. It targeted representatives from across the galaxy. To prevent alliance, Zorvex suggested. The summit represented unprecedented cooperation. Someone clearly finds that threatening. Helena looked at the displays showing the captured enemy vessels. We need to form a joint investigation team. Human and Vordaxian intelligence working together to trace these connections. Agreed, said Zorvex, and I believe this incident, unfortunate as it was, may have unexpected benefits for Earth's standing in the coalition. How so? Asked Okafor. Your defensive preparations saved not only your world but representatives from 27 civilizations. Many who came here skeptical of humanity's readiness for galactic politics will leave as advocates for your full integration into coalition affairs. Helena thought about the path that had led to this moment. From humanity's first contact with beings who viewed them as primitive, to becoming the protectors of those same beings in their time of need. The roles had been reversed in ways no one could have predicted. We should reconvene the summit tomorrow, she suggested, not despite the attack, but because of it. Show that intimidation tactics won't succeed. A demonstration of resolve, Zorvex agreed. Very human, and in this case, entirely appropriate. As they prepared to address the delegates, Helena reflected on humanity's journey. They had entered the galactic community prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. That preparation had not only earned them respect, but had now protected the very beings who once thought themselves superior.